Hello everyone. This is my presentation on the week 3 assignment on assessing the nutritional needs of a specific individual. Before I introduce this individual, I did want to discuss the learning outcomes for this week as well as the goals for this assignment. Um, our learning outcomes for this week included identifying the nutritional needs for a specific age group and examining their poor food choices. We will also be making suggestions based on behavior modification strategies and the 7 dimensions of wellness. This assignment is a good mix of all of these learning outcomes that I mentioned previously, where we will focus on one person and what we learned this week. This is just an overview of the presentation, and the individual that we'll be focusing on in this presentation is me. A little bit more information about me. My name is Sara Calderon. I'm 23 years old. I'm a college student in rural Missouri. I'm Guatemalan American. I was also recently diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome and as a pre-diabetic. Part of the reason that I decided to take this course and why I chose myself for this presentation was to better understand how I can lower my risk of diabetes and manage my PCOS. This table is meant to give you a brief understanding of the foods that I've eaten or that I eat throughout the day. Unfortunately, I usually don't make the best decisions when it comes to food. I've realized that I tend to eat lots of processed foods, flavored foods that have added sugars, foods high in solid fats such as trans and saturated fats, as well as foods high in sodium. To provide further context on this table, I usually don't eat breakfast, but if by some miracle I do wake up early, I try to have yogurt, oatmeal, or granola. Although these sound like healthy options, these tend to be artificially flavored and have tons of added sugar. As for lunch, I do try to visit the dining hall on campus at least once because it is part of my cost of attendance. However, their options are limited and they tend to repeat the same fried foods quite often. As for dinner, I usually end up making a sandwich or eating a frozen burrito. As for snack, I tend to eat bananas, pudding, or chips. Here is just a review of the general nutritional recommendations that we've learned throughout this course. I also decided to add the daily recommendation for water, which is 11.5 cups or 2.7 liters of water. I usually do pretty good at meeting this requirement. I have a water bottle that holds about a liter, and I drink about 2, maybe 2.5 throughout the day. Here's again just another overview of the recommendations. However, it also breaks it down into grams, and it talks about saturated fats as well as fiber, etc. Here, after looking at the nutrition labels for the foods that I usually eat and taking into consideration what I've learned in this class, it's no wonder I'm a pre-diabetic. Just by eating 2 to 3 corn dogs, and this brings my fat daily value to around 51%, 45% of that being saturated fats. This is crazy considering that I'm supposed to be keeping this under 10%. In addition to this, just by eating these corn dogs, I'm consuming approximately half of the recommended sodium levels. When looking at the nutritional facts for the Doritos, they're just not worth it either. One tiny bag, and I'm consuming around half to a third of the recommended fat intake for the day. And then here we also have the nutritional information for a snack or the vanilla pudding. This one honestly wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. However, it is still very much high in saturated fats. And moving on to the dimensions of wellness, I really wanted to focus on environmental wellness this week and incorporate others as well, of course, such as physical and financial wellness. Environmental wellness, as we know, is defined as occupying pleasant, stimulating environments that support one's well-being. I'm a strong believer that our personal health can very much be dependent on our surroundings. For example, I'm from Phoenix, a good-sized city that has a big Hispanic population and places where I can access different foods. However, for most of the year, I'm a student in a rural town in Missouri, and this has had a huge impact on my personal health and food choices. I no longer have access to cultural foods. I have limited access to the grocery store. The area that I'm in isn't walkable, and food served at the dining hall is almost always deep fried. In fact, there's only one day of the week where they're not allowed to serve fried foods. And usually the foods contain a lot of dairy products. Now that I'm reflecting on this, I've realized that throughout the day, or throughout most of my time in college, I've struggled with deciding what to eat, or knowing that something isn't healthy, but not having the other options readily available. As for physical wellness, on the other hand, this is more about making active decisions and practices that will support your well-being, your health, and wellness. As I mentioned earlier, I've recently been diagnosed with PCOS and prediabetes. The connection between these two is considered bidirectional. It appears that high levels of insulin are not only a side effect of PCOS, but they also likely play a role in causing and manipulating PCOS, which means it's just a vicious cycle. These high insulin levels also stimulate the ovaries to produce more hormones, such as testosterone, which can in turn lead to weight gain. I want to focus on this aspect in my physical health because although I've been making poor food choices, I really need to reflect on how these decisions are going to contribute to the worsening of my health. In addition to this, there's no cure or easy fix for PCOS. The best thing that I can do is focus on losing weight, and that's by starting in the kitchen. In terms of financial wellness, this kind of goes hand in hand with, I guess you could say, occupational wellness since I'm a student. Um, it is defined as learning how to manage your financial situation wisely. And unfortunately, when it comes to food, I haven't yet mastered how to shop smart and healthy. As a college student, I can only make roughly $140 every 2 weeks. I find myself often making compromises when shopping for food, like selecting white bread because it can be up to 4 times cheaper than wheat, or buying frozen foods because they last longer and they can be prepared quickly and eaten on the go usually. This is just a quick quote as to why I should be more invested in my health. I believe the person, Bethany Frankel, is an actor of some sort. And they said, your diet is like a bank account, good food choices are good investments. And this is especially true for someone like me who doesn't have health insurance. So I should be thinking about it long term. So this is just an example, or this is just reviewing what I had for breakfast and then finding a healthier solution. By going from flavored yogurts to plain yogurts, I'll be more determined to buy and use fresh fruits to add flavor to my foods. In addition to this, buying fruits and cutting them beforehand means I'll have food to take with me to class, while also increasing the variety of fruits I consume. For these days, for the days that I do want a heavier breakfast, I decided to add toast with avocado and bell peppers. This way, I'm eating more whole grains, healthier fats, and starting to incorporate more vegetable options. Overall, these changes will help reduce the carbs or added sugars in my diet and increase the intake of natural vitamins and minerals found in these fruits and vegetables. As I mentioned earlier, I usually don't eat breakfast, but this is just kind of like a funny reminder that breakfast should be an important part of my day. As for lunch, although the salad bar options and hot foods are limited in the dining hall, I can try to lower my portions by filling up on fruits available, such as apples, oranges, or peaches, as well as the options in the salad bar. Um, I can also try exploring the salad. As I mentioned, I can try exploring the salad bar again, but avoiding ranch. I am a ranch fiend, and will try to put it on everything. However, my doctor has warned me that I need to avoid white sauces that are high in fats, or any sauces or condiments that are high in fats in general. I can also start by eating the vegetarian options that we have here at the dining hall, such as chickpeas and potatoes, veggie stuffed mushrooms, vegetable kebabs with peppers, onions, and mushrooms. This way, I'm not eating meals high in fat as much as or at all, and once again, eating vegetables that have higher amounts of vitamins and minerals. For dinner, instead of eating empty calories or foods high in fats, such as the burritos or the chips, I can try making foods that I can make easily in large amounts and kind of divide it throughout the rest of my week. This can be rice or beans, and I can add different vegetables or meats to add variation. A specific example could be rice and chili, and I can get creative with what I put in there. As for the snacks, although the banana isn't the worst option, I do need to explore healthier snacks than the chips and the pudding. Because most of my snacking is done during the middle of the night or towards the end of the day, um, they tend to be processed finger foods. I was thinking having cut fruit and vegetables can be a more filling and nutritious substitute. I was considering having apples, orange slices, watermelon, grapes, cucumbers with tahini, or peppers, bell peppers with hummus. These snacks can also help, or incorporating these snacks throughout my day can also help with my PCOS by preventing insulin spikes. This is kind of just an overview of my 1 day food plan based off of the healthier alternatives that I just went through. So for breakfast, I could have eggs, or I could include eggs, toast with avocado, cheese, and cut fruit. Lunch, I could fill up on fruits and salad options. Dinner, I could have rice and chili with ground turkey. Ground turkey is obviously a leaner meat. It's probably going to have less fats than red meats. As for snacks, I could have sliced fruits, sliced watermelon, bell peppers, and hummus. As for beverages, I just honestly drink a lot of water. I don't like to drink other juices. Sometimes I do have orange juice in the morning, but other than that, most of my beverages are going to be water. So one of the behavior modifying techniques that I wanted to focus on was the SMART goals. I very much enjoy making lists, completing tasks, and writing things out. I think that by making SMART goals, I can write out and visualize my intentions. If I have any issues reaching these goals, I can also review my notes and make adjustments. Some smaller goals that I have off the top of my head are eating breakfast at least 4 days a week, shopping more at the perimeter of the grocery store. This is a technique that I learned online that I guess will help you when trying to shop for healthier foods. And this just basically means focusing more on the produce section than the rest of the store that has processed foods. And I will measure this by limiting the processed foods that I buy to at least 2 items per week. And I also want to start writing what I eat at least 5 days a week and reviewing it weekly for changes. Ideally, I would want to write down what I eat every day throughout the week. However, I did want to allow myself a grace period because I am a full-time student and sometimes just have a busy day. So another behavior technique that I wanted to focus on was the trans-theoretical model of change. Usually I struggle with the maintenance phase, and then I relapse, and then I just never get back to the appropriate stage that I left off on. However, I think that this model paired with the SMART goals will allow me to get back into the groove of things and to prevent these same mistakes. And then if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to email me. And then these are my resources. Thank you.